because now they have the robots with the AI inside of them, right? And they're studying factory workers. And my light bulb went off where it's like, oh, once that one robot knows how to do it, then every other robot knows how to do it. Where we don't operate like that, clearly. We have to learn it ourselves, and then our challenge is how do we communicate this information to other people in our organization, our family, our team, our et cetera. So it's like, wow.
Welcome to Living Well with Rentwell,
the podcast for anybody who's thinking about getting into real estate, in real estate,
and wants to take their game to the next level. I'm your co-host, TJ Hock.
And I am your co-host, Rob Coldwell.
So this is going to be a little bit of dueling pianos up here with my man TJ Hock. So we've been friends and business partners for now over a decade. And me personally, the people that know me closest usually give me like the sweaters that have Excel spreadsheets on them, or like a coffee mug that says "freak in the sheets." Sorry, Sarah, it's probably embarrassing. And TJ has been, I think, he's more adventurous with the technology. And he's the integrator of what we've created, this series of companies, which is managing, investing, and then remodeling. So he's going to be on the driver's seat today. And I'm excited because I've seen the presentation. As y'all know, like we do a lot of like preparing for this, and it is going to be interactive in a little bit, but we're going to let him get started, and he's been using it long enough that he also knows what's so important of like what's not working well, or where he tried some things and it didn't go, because I think that it's like catching that falling knife sometimes of like what should we put energy to, and what's working and what's not working. And I would just be curious from a show of hands, who would say that they're on one of the AI platforms for more than an hour a week? So that's like most of the room. I was like, okay, got it. All right, cool. So, yeah, great. So I turn it over to you, my friend.
All right.
Yeah.
Mic close enough to the mic?
Yeah.
Check. You good? Yeah, I guess there's so many different ways that this could go. I mean, AI is a very broad topic. It also can be incredibly narrow. So I tried to pick some things that weren't just necessarily real estate related, but also just daily productivity, whether you own a small business or real estate, or you're just incredibly busy with life, and how the heck do I organize myself and figure out what's actually a priority? And we take this, we're in an entrepreneur school, and they talk in there a lot about doing legacy work, that as the owner of the business or the entrepreneur, to focus on the legacy work, the stuff that takes things forward. And at least in my position as integrator, it's like the noise versus the signal. You know, the signal being, what am I supposed to be working on that actually drives change in a good way, versus what's the noise? And so I use Gemini in particular for that, to help me with what's noise, what should I be working on, what should I delegate. And so I'm excited to share that with you, but just curious, who uses ChatGPT like right now? I think that was kind of the original AI. What about Gemini? Claude?
A couple Claudes out there.
It's a good mix. I just learned some new things about Claude this weekend, last weekend.
I'm going to do a Copilot because it's integrated into Windows. I use Copilot because it's there in front of me.
Yeah.
Fix my spreadsheet.
That's where it was. That fix your spreadsheet. Which one was that?
Copilot.
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 That's a Microsoft.
I'm hoping to be out of the workforce by the time Office goes away. So that's my goal.
It's fascinating. I mean, you can even take, if you have multiple spreadsheets, it'll combine it into one workbook for you. And let's see, who's paying for AI? We're the third of the room, quarter of the room, and who feels overwhelmed by AI? Yes. All right.
The other half of the room is paying for AI, but they forgot.
They forgot they-
subscription ended, and they're still paying for AI. I think we learned that on Revamp 365 that we're still paying for, but love Drew's product. Still paying for it.
We'll be right back, but first a word from our sponsors.
At Marketing Agency Near You, we build real strategies that drive real growth. SEO, paid ads, web design, branding, social media, everything your business needs to show up and stand out. We're a local team that actually cares of strategic thinkers, creative builders, and problem solvers who treat your business like it's our own. Discover the exact steps to transform your marketing approach with the Omnipresence Audit. We dive deep into your brand's current efforts, uncover hidden opportunities, and build a roadmap for growth. Visit yourfreeplan.com.
This episode is also brought to you by Rentwell.
Hey, being a landlord getting old? Late night maintenance calls, chasing rent checks? Yeah, we get it. That's where Rentwell comes in. We handle all the annoying stuff so you can actually enjoy owning property. Sound good? Just go to rentwell.com, hit schedule a consultation, and let's talk. It's free, no pressure. Rentwell.com, a fresh approach to professional property management.
I think the biggest thing with AI is that it doesn't replace you in the sense of your thinking necessarily. And that's one thing that we're going to get into with prompts is the power is in the prompt. It's not just hopping into ChatGPT or Gemini and saying, what is this? Or I'm stuck here. It's really getting more granular with it. And so, yeah, AI, it's to help us figure things out. It even, I find that it helps me learn how do I think, how do I process things, and so we'll get into that. The prompt is the lens. So if you think of AI like a world-class analyst sitting across the table from you, or just another human sitting across the table from you, if you ask the question, is this a good deal? You'll probably get a shallow answer. But if you're incredibly specific about the question, break this deal down like your own capital is at risk. Show me the assumptions, the risks, what would need to be true for this to work. It's the same platform, but you're going to get an entirely different outcome. And the one demo we'll do today is it kind of approaches that. I'm after the same result, but I'm going to ask it in two slightly different ways, and you'll see it gets a completely different response. So it's really, the prompt is everything, at least with the platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. These are, I guess, arguably like the four primary AIs that are out there that are used right now universally. You have ChatGPT, which typically is better for strategy or reasoning, or like building out decision frameworks, like how to approach a certain item. Gemini is brilliant for if you are part of the G Suite. How many people here have Gmail or part of the G Suite in total? Yeah. So Gemini is incredible for that because it can get into your emails, it can get into Drive, it'll get into your calendar and just sync all this information. And I'll show you that. Claude is, I find that it's the best as far as design work. So if you need to do a PowerPoint deck or you want to design a PDF or a flyer, Claude's incredible for that. So a lot of times it's also just knowing, okay, well, I'll use ChatGPT to create the content, then I'll take that content and put it into Claude to do the design. ChatGPT is not great at design. It'll do good graphics, like if you want to do a cover page or something, but to actually do a marketing piece.
Even the paid version?
Even the paid version.
And are you paying for all of these?
Yes.
We are paying for all these guys. Got it. And then do you do it throughout the organization, or can you turn it on and off by user? Like, how does that work for those with a team?
Yeah, good question. So, well, Gemini's free if you have Google.
Is there a higher tier of Gemini, or the whole thing's free?
Yeah. So there is a higher tier of Gemini.
Okay.
We're not paying for that.
Got it.
I haven't tested that yet. Haven't found the need for it.
So that's the one with these symbols that comes up when you, like, I've seen that when you're in your Google suite and you see the symbols, and it's like, it'll almost prompt us what it wants us to do with it, right? I loaded a phase 1 into, I think it was that one the other day. Which one would come with Adobe? Do we know?
I don't know.
So I think it may have been Gemini, but it went through a 300-page, phase 1 analysis and was like, hey, this looks pretty clean.
If the PDF opened in Chrome,
yes,
then that would be Gemini.
Okay.
And there's actually two different, I'll say, types of Gemini. There's when you go to Gemini.com, and it's the whole chat platform. There's also Gemini that you'll see up here on the top right. If you use Chrome, this Gemini will analyze the information you have on that exact tab.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different. So if we went, we're on our marketing site, and maybe we have some kind of question. What is this site about? See what it comes back with. But I mean, this would be a very basic sample, but if you do have a more just very text-heavy website, or maybe you're looking at some kind of contract, a legal document that's on there, you can have this open in Chrome, pop open Gemini, give me the summary. What should I know about this? What questions should I ask? And it will read through it, which is nice because you don't have to download the document and then upload it into other platforms. So,
hey, TJ.
Yes.
Just a quick question. When I use Gemini, I can go to the website and just ask it a typical question. If I log into Google Gemini, where it's my personal login, it keeps track of subject matter. So if I put in new subject, and I say, real estate in Florida, then anything I'm asking it in there, the next time I go in, it'll bring it back up, and I can follow up through additional questions. Is that how you see it on your side?
Yeah, so the question, if I'm understanding your question correctly, Brad, it's when you use Gemini, you close it, you come back to it, it has the history of previous conversations or previous chats that you've used.
Yeah, when you're logging in to Gemini, when I use my login to get to Gemini that way, when I'm just in Gemini, just like the web browser, and I'm asking Gemini a question, it's not necessarily keeping track of each subject matter, I guess.
Okay.
But see, as you have subjects on the side there, that's what I see when I'm logging in.
Yes. Yep. So it'll keep, whether you use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, they'll all keep your chat history. So anytime you create a new chat, it logs it over to the left, which is nice because you could pick that conversation back up later down the road. Mm-hmm. And I'll show you a sample of where that's useful with, you're setting yourself up for the week.
God, I love it. So you're saying don't pick one, build a system. You know which tool to pick up for what.
Right. That exactly.
Okay.
They kind of all have their superpower in their own right. It's sort of like now you have to pay for streaming on all these different sites.
Yep.
Disney and Amazon, and very similar with ChatGPT or AI.
Yeah, yes.
Notebook LM, I didn't have anything set for that today, but if you has anybody here used Notebook? Oh my God, it's life-changing. It, like, for real. It's part of the G Suite. It's free. It's more of an educational resource. So, man, if you you could take anything. It could be a document that you need to read and interpret and understand. It could be if you're going back to school and you're taking online classes. Basically, you take the content, put it into Notebook. Notebook will convert it into a variety of different ways to digest the information. So it will, I took our Vivid Vision, for example, put it in there, and it'll be a man and a woman, and it's a podcast, and they're talking back and forth about that document, and you can interject and ask it questions, and they'll respond to you. It's fascinating. It'll mind map. If we have time, I'd love to show it to you because it's remarkable for learning.
Got it.
Yeah.
You can use our EA one if you want, if that's just a quick
Oh, yeah.
press for that one.
Okay. Yep, we could do that.
So these are your big four, and you're in these most every day.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you've got it set up and programmed that it's doing things for you, and you're going to show us some of that.
I will.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
And what you're saying about the Notebook LM is that it can take text and turn it into video, or it can take a video and turn it back into text. And
I've got to show you.
okay, yeah, let's do it. That's what this format's for.
One of the uses, so we use Culture Index at Rentwell, which is a personality profile for recruiting and for ongoing leadership. I've taken some of those profiles and put it into...
So that's a future speaker is going to be the Culture Index. We've had the EOS. Todd was gracious enough to bring some books, so we're going to hand those out at the end. The Culture Index is, well, we're about to find out, I think, what the Culture Index is.
Well, this is actually 7...
Okay.
So I'm building a class right now at Rentwell called the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Property Managers. And over here on the left, this is all the content I uploaded. And if you can, it's pretty small in the back, isn't it? There's an ad source. You can add anything, videos, text, upload documents, web links. Over here, well, you have options of what to convert it into. Okay. So you can make videos out of them, slide decks out of it. I'll just show you some samples. This is so I took text. I used ChatGPT to build out 7 habits of highly effective property managers. Copied that text, put it in here, and then Notebook created a video. I guess we won't be able to hear it.
So
but you get
7 minutes long.
But you get the concept of it. It also, if you're more of a visual learner, it'll turn it into more of a mind map. So here's what the mind map might look like. So in highly effective property manager, habit number 1, customer focus and care. It'll break it down into the key points of what that habit is. And it'll work all the way through. So it can take incredibly dense information and just simplify it to grasp the concept of it.
Yeah, the key of our business is how quickly can we get a new property manager up to speed. It's like critical to our business, and in your business it might be something how quickly can you get a new HVAC tech up, or any of these things, or a new cold caller, or a new transaction coordinator. So what's nice is that you can. Some people, I'm very visual. If you're talking to me, well, my mind's already having 3 conversations, and you're just like adding another one. But when I see it, then I tend to hone in and focus on more.
It's very different. Yeah.
Question?
Is this free?
Is it free?
Is this paid?
If you have a Gmail account, totally free.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
How much do you have to cross-check the information? My doctor checks AI all the time because she has patients coming in with wrong information. Like the AI will use a study that only has 10 people in it versus a big study. So how do you cross-check?
Yeah, I have that as one of the slides. You have, depending on what you're after, you do need to proofread. You do need to cross-reference, and that's one of the big things that they're trying to figure out is how will we get consistent answers. So if I'm using ChatGPT and I ask it a question, what's the best something in the market, I'll get an answer. If I ask it the same question, open up a new chat, ask it the same question tomorrow, I might get a different answer or slightly different answer. So the consistency, they're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, best HVAC service in Royersford.
Yeah, that's a good.
Might return rapid air in one search, and it may not return it in another search. We just had it with in Ambler, best property manager in Ambler. We were like top 3. Then I'm like curious, what are the other 2? We went back and searched, and it changed. So I think it's also the prompts that you give it. We was working with an investor. We were calculating compounded annualized returns on an investment, and it was his AI was giving a different answer than my AI, but a calculator would just give you the same answer.
Right, exactly.
And that's when I asked TJ about it. He says, well, it might be that you're compounding, right? So some it's like, Brendan probably knows the answer, like some are over, 360 days. Others are over 365 days. So how quickly is it compounding?
Or if you discount the first 12 months, or count that as year 0 or year 1, it's a big common difference.
Yeah, so the answer was like, when does it start? And here's what I think is unique about us and where we are in this next day, literally, because what's today? It's like the next day of reality and evolution. Many of us here who've been going to dig for a while and have been engaged and have experience, we have experience, so we may not know enough okay, yep, there are different ways, and here's what I remember from actually working on it. I think the challenge is going to be for the younger generation that doesn't have that direct experience, and they have more beliefs and things that they've learned in school to help get them experience. So then that way, because they might be more willing to adapt it into the world, but they don't have the same experience that those that are more seniors, have. So I think that we're in of course we're in a really interesting time. I mean, we're alive, and like this stuff's coming out, and even if it wasn't, there's something else that would be really cool to witness and be part of it. I would also share is I think that, as Brenner said before, is like he knew it was there. He would work on it a little bit, work with it a little bit, and then he couldn't fix his spreadsheet, but the AI could. And I remember listening to an interview where, because now they have the robots with the AI inside of them, right? And they're studying factory workers. And my light bulb went off where it's like, oh, once that one robot knows how to do it, then every other robot knows how to do it. Where we don't operate like that, clearly. We have to learn it ourselves, and then our challenge is how do we communicate this information to other people in our organization, our family, our team, et cetera. So it's like, wow. So I'm not sure where to even go with that little riff there. But when you said the question about like who feels overwhelmed with it, I mean, for me, I worked on it long enough just a few weeks ago, and I think it was like 2 or 3 hours. I literally needed to like take a break, go eat something because I felt my blood sugar like dropping. But it was the power of the prompts. And I like almost unprompted it with some things and say, you know what, why don't you take this? You tell me what you think is good with it. If you have data, what I would recommend is if you're looking to get more deal flow, give it data because that's what it needs. So for me, Tori and I have gone through a painstaking process of every property we've bought in the last 5 years is on one spreadsheet. What did we buy it for? What date? What was the equity structure? How much did we put in? What was the square footage? How long did the renovation take? What were the interest rates at that time? What was the net operating income when we bought it? What was the net operating income 18 months later? What did we refinance it for? And then when I gave that to AI and I said, really think about this, it did it, the entire workbook, and it thought about it for about 15 minutes, I believe, is what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Thought about it for a while. And then it came back with, well, here's what I would do with this. It says, you're not a property manager, you're an operator. I wouldn't have thought about that. It's like you're beyond a level of managing a property. You're an actual operator, and this data shows like a level of expertise. Pretty cool. So if you've done enough transactions, like I would recommend have your own database and then work for that. The last thing I'll say, and then shut up and pass it back to you, TJ, is I'm on the business development side of Rentwell, right?
Yep.
And I think it's now hit a tipping point for our leads are coming in through this. It's not, I Googled you.
Yeah, it's called AIO. So there's SEO, then there's AIO, which is AI optimization.
Yeah. I want the best property manager for a single family home in Sharon Hill, and I want to find a tenant by the time I am ready to move because I'm relocating to Texas. Tell me about how this is going to work. Tell me about all this. That's different than property manager Delaware County.
Well, and tenants are using it more now to find properties to rent, which we could do a whole nother session on that. But how are tenants using AI to find a place to live?
I thought they're on Craigslist, no? Am I dating myself?
So I'll move on.
Cool.
I'll move on from Notebook here, but I do have to play this clip because I just find it. Oh, wait, we don't have the audio. Never mind.
We can send out the link in the show notes.
Yeah, that'll be a good note. Okay. We were talking about the power of the prompt, and I think general population uses it more as just a very basic kind of writing tool. Hey, respond to this email, write me this, write me that. And the power of the prompt, I think it shows a reflection of your clarity, your level of thinking. I think your example was great going through the deal and at the data.
Yeah.
Because it gets you thinking differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just straight up information. It's, okay, well, let me approach it from this angle and what comes up.
It's like the questions that would come up in like a mastermind weekend.
Yeah, that's good.
Where you're not on your phone and getting bombarded with the daily minutia, maybe of life and emails and text and all that, where you're like, you get away for a while and you're there and maybe you spend some money. Like, at least that's what it comes up for me. Like, I'm going to work on my life this weekend at this event. It's like those level of questions that I would ask somebody else or ask of myself is now what I can do just with my computer.
With your computer.
And it's almost like you drop into a different level of thinking, and like time just kind of suspends a little bit. And that to me is where it's like, this is now overwhelming. And I would put in there, hey, this seems like way too much for me to take on. It said for me to build you're an operator of 2 to 30 unit apartment buildings. You need to build a playbook. You're going to use that playbook, and then you're going to give that away for free, and that's going to be your lead magnet. I'm like, whoa, this is way too overwhelming, but I have an intern starting, actually 2 of them. How can I use an intern to help me with this?
Smart.
Okay, and then you load in the culture index, and it says, by the way, I'm a daredevil. They're like, oh, well, you don't like details, and you're going to get frustrated fast, so here's the playbook that I'll build for you. Do you want me to build a playbook for your intern? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want the intern's expertise. It's Rentwell's expertise. Okay, no. The intern is gonna. So like it just kept going and going.
It's a dance kind of.
It's a dance. Yeah. That where like, can you relate it to any other way besides like those mastermind and all? Like, because I think that's what separates the user that embraces it and sees what it can do. It's like you have almost like the potentially the best knowledge. Maybe it's not, right? To the example of the doctor and people are bringing in and it's not accurate, or the interest rate one. They both might be accurate, but they're calculated differently because it wasn't prompted properly. So,
Rob, is it more like a funnel where you're sort of getting the information, gathering things, give it a broad prompt to sort of direct you or get you thinking about where you want to go, and then move it to the next step, which is a little further down the funnel. And now that I have this information, let's point out this direction to take it all the way there.
Right. I would say as long as for me, in that one example, I gave it the answer I wanted to do. Where mine was like, I want to expand upon the podcast, right? Because I want to do a weekly 15-minute. Like I've been itching to talk about phantom income because last meeting we talked about cost segs and all. And it was like, that's not going to do anything for your business because you don't have a way to convert people from your podcast to your management company. So what you need to do is build the lead magnet, get an email address, a phone number, then you can market, and you need to have a way to help people outside of your region and with inside. So I would say it's a bit of both depending on how clear your thinking was. In that one example, I wasn't thinking that it was going to give me the answer of what to do. I told it what I wanted my help to create, and it says, this is going to be great once you build your lead magnet. And I'm like, that seems completely overwhelming to me. How would I do that? And that's from what I can see, that's where the funnel comes in and just continuing to work on it. Brad, you got a question?
Yeah, I just find that it goes back to TJ's earlier comment in his presentation about judgment. When you ask AI a question and you get an answer, you have to digest it and use your judgment as to whether you believe that what's coming is what you really want or need. And the example I can give is I asked a tax question to Gemini AI, and it gave me 25 tax table information versus 26. And I went back and I said, well, I knew enough to say that looks similar to 25 tax tables, and I know they changed, and I was looking for the change. And I went back and said, it looks like you're not taking the new bill that just passed for 26. And it came back and said, you're right. And here's some new analysis of everything
I think that's a great I'm going to skip a few. What is our time?
We go to about 1:30.
I'm going to skip past some stuff. So this is kind of the formula for a really healthy prompt. So I think, Brad, to your point, it's broken down into 5 sections, which is the role. So tell AI who you want it to be: an investor, an analyst, a doctor, COO. Then you give it the context. So here's the deal that I'm working on, or here's the numbers that I need to analyze, or here's my situation. The objective. So what does success look like? Now you know who you are. You have the context. What does success look like, or what is the result that we're after? The 4th step would be your constraint: time, money, legal. And then the last is the output. So how do you want it to give you the information? So Brad, in your example, if you were to almost like break this down step by step, it's you are this particular role, here's what I'm after. I'd like the current year's regulations or include any new, and it comes back to the prompt. And being incredibly specific with it to get the most helpful response.
RCOCO.
RCOCO.
Yeah, that's the acronym.
Sounds like a
right
song.
there,
RCOCO.
All right, good.
And
I feel like I need to print this out and
we at the end we'll give Christina's email and happy to share some of the key concepts that are in here because it's a lot to go through pretty quickly.
Prompting is delegation. You would not assign a real person a task with no context.
Exactly. So truly, kind of the other side, treat it like you're delegating something to somebody. And what's the level of clarity that you're providing? Okay.
And for that last one, just real quick, you're saying, AI, I want you to be this.
Yes.
I want you to be, look at this data from a marketing lens or from a financial lens or from an HR lens or any of these things. That's what you're,
exactly.
From a tax strategist and all that. Okay.
You're telling AI who it is.
Who to be.
So it knows kind of what hat to put on it. For the sake of time, I'll go through these 6 pretty quickly. What I did was I just came up with 6 examples, like a good and bad example for very different scenarios. Read that. The first one here is more looking at a property. So a weak prompt would be, does this deal look good?
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is the dig answer line. Like, I need a plumber. No
Oh, that's a
offense,
good
but like every one of us has 50 plumbers in our phone. If we've been doing this long enough, is it a hot water heater? Is it in Montgomery County? Are you looking for the light? Like what?
That's a
Like,
great
give me more information
Yeah.
that I have a zoning question. Like, tell us more because then I can help you. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I've been
That's a
holding
good
on to that
example.
one for a while. Sorry.
So does this look good versus more of a power prompt, which is you are a seasoned real estate investor with 20 plus years across rentals, flips, creative financing. Analyze this deal, and then that's where you give it the context. Break down the assumptions, the risks, the financing options, exit strategies. Tell me whether to pursue it, how I can improve it, and what would you do differently. Totally different prompt.
Can you save that verse? Like, because see, this is where I'm at. I'm gonna like that. I'm gonna copy and paste it into a Word document, and then like go back and copy and paste it in an AI. I'm thinking that they have a way that like that can be saved. And
You can.
Okay.
If time allows, I'd like to show that because you can create your own. It's very simple, but you can create your own bot in ChatGPT where the bot would be an analyst.
all right, we want to get to the bottom. I'll
And
stop
set.
talking.
Okay. Due diligence, weak prompt. This business seems like a good buy. Anything I should check? Versus you're a seasoned small business acquisition advisor. I'm considering buying this business. Here's all the detail. Identify every red flag, hidden liability, and assumptions that I should test before signing. Be brutal. What would make you walk away? All right, this is one of my absolute favorites. You had talked about advisors. You're bored, right? Earlier, you gave that little example. So I have set up what I call my Council of Mentors. Any of you familiar with Napoleon Hill? I almost said Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Save the jokes for me, buddy. No.
And well, yeah, exactly. He talks about invisible counselors. Are you familiar with that at all? So Rob and I, do you remember the day 10 years ago when we had our invisible counselors like Henry Ford, and we had their picture printed and we'd put them around the board table and we'd have our owners meeting and say, okay, well, what would Henry Ford say about this?
No clue.
What would Howard Schultz say about this? Yeah, exactly.
That was the reality, right? Like, I don't know. We just print them and put them in the room.
Well, yeah, and it's up to your best interpretation of what they would say. Well,
now they're there.
With ChatGPT and certain profiling setup, I have my own board. I'll ask a question. I'll give it a presentation I'm doing. I'll give it a deal, and I'll ask it, hey, all right, get the board together and respond back. And one of my role models is Howard Schultz from Starbucks. I just love the way he communicates and how he works with people. And so anyway, well, I'll show you that when we get there. I'll keep for the sake of time here. All right, so weak prompt would be, I feel behind on everything. How do I get organized? Versus, you are a high performance coach specializing in energy and time management. I like this one because I think more than anything, it's energy management, not necessarily time management, just at an individual level, you know. Okay, for investors and
How
operators.
are you pasting in your task meetings in open loop? Like, is that something you've already built? Because it says, like, here is my current week. I wouldn't know how to load my current weekend. Is yours reading your emails and can look at your calendar and all?
Yep.
And is that, you can set all that up and then, okay.
Yep, which we'll demo today.
Oh, we are. Okay, got it. Great.
And then, identify where things are leaking. So you get that concept, a deal structure. Again, the bank said no. I guess this deal's dead. Versus you're an expert in creative real estate deal structuring, subject to seller financing, lease options, joint ventures. Here's my deal. Tell me what you
I've also heard the tip that when you're prompting, many of us can almost think and talk faster than we type, and we tend to type different than how we're talking and thinking, right? Because when we're typing, we're expecting almost somebody else to read it. So are you, when you're prompting, are you clicking on the microphone or are you typing?
Depends on the scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, so what Rob's talking about, every Claude, GPT, Gemini, they all have the talking capability. I have a second monitor, like a tiny one, sitting at my desk at home, and I'll actually at times leave GPT open, the chat bot. If you click the... yeah, I wish we could hear it, but you can talk back and it sounds like
it just talked to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you'll hear like a lady talking on the other
What's
end.
on your mind today?
And you just go back and forth, have conversations.
Is there like
with
ways
her.
where you can change the voice and make it like an English something funny?
In Gemini you can.
In Gemini you can. The paid version though.
In Gemini, can you like give it your profile, like so about who you are and it'll remember?
You can. I uploaded like my brain scan that I had done a while ago, my personality, so it knows.
It pinged me to take out more life insurance executive policy on them. No, I'm just kidding.
Brain scan's not looking great.
Yes. Yeah.
But
seek backup.
Seek backup.
Need redundant staff. No.
But you can get pretty crazy with it. But yeah, you could build a bot to.
Do you have to pay for it to do that? I think like ChatGPT, right? You have to pay for it to create a profile. Is that?
Yes, you have to have the paid version.
And when we talk about paid, we're talking about what, like $30 a month?
Yes, less than.
What else have you? What else? If you don't mind sharing, what else did you put in? Because he knows you pretty well personally, is what you've been.
Yep. Well, yeah, the brain scan. I put in my personality profiles, all the different ones that I've taken.
Which you'll get later in one of these. You'll get your free culture index profile back. Okay.
A while ago, I had built a user manual for the staff that reports into me, basically who I am, how to talk to me, what I have patience for, what I don't have patience for, how to communicate with me, like all these things. And so it's kind of replicated. Yeah, we'll keep going.
Coming into a live demo here, I think.
This one, I won't read the whole thing, but GPT does sync with Zillow. It's a newer feature, which is really nice because it can kind of get in behind the scenes and look at the listing that you have and give you feedback. So I'll be happy to share these. Another example of just a finance, right? Tell the story. What are my numbers? So week prompt, can you look at my financials? Can. Versus you're a CFO, you're a financial analyst. Here's my income statement, my balance sheet. Again, coming back to those 5 steps and just being incredibly specific.
Yeah, I actually did this when I downloaded an entire year's worth of operating account activity, and just said, "Tell me what you think." Oh, do you want me to give you a chart? Do you want me to give you a trend line? Like, yeah, I do. Yeah. Like, yes. Yeah. What's the slope? Is it are we going up, down, sideways? Where are you heading? Super valuable. Like that's something that would have taken me. It could do it in Excel, but this did it faster. I believe more accurate. And then for me, like it would take all the spreadsheet work. It takes a lot of energy to do it. Pull all the files and all that. Now you spend all the energy on it, and now you don't have any energy
to read it.
Let alone make changes. And then, I mean, for me, I just move on to something else, or I put it as a to-do, and then I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning thinking, I didn't get to that. When am I going to get to it? Yeah, it's truth.
Lab demo.
Holy smokes.
I just want to see. Yeah, it's really small up here, but we can pass this around. 45 minutes.
Yeah, we're getting into some of the meat as to why I thought that this was going to be like the next level for what it is. So what's the high level of what you're doing here? What you're about ready to show us? Because you built a chief of staff.
Yeah, so we got a couple scenarios. I was almost wondering, do we just poll like, here, which ones would you rather see, just for the sake of time? But so this one is chief of staff, daily briefing. What this does is in Gemini, it's connected to Gmail, calendar, Drive, and every day, 8 o'clock in the morning, it'll spit out, here's what your day looks like. These should be the things you delegate. You might be double booked here. You should call these 5 people. Oh, you really need to respond to these 3 emails. I'll draft it for you. And
Yeah, let's see it.
You want to see that?
So what you're
Yeah.
that's the prompt.
So that's the
Okay.
prompt that's too small to read. What I was going to show is there's two different variations for it, which would just give a very different response. But
Yeah, go for it.
oh yeah, the rocket launched, Artemis launched yesterday. So here's one daily briefing.
So this is what you've already built after you've synced everything.
Kind of at the same time.
Okay.
How can I make this thing?
So as your chief of
So,
staff. Okay.
yep, as chief of staff, it'll. Can you see that okay? So it'll break down signal versus noise. Okay, these are the different important activities that I need to do. These are probably lower priority for me. Delegate them. Any red flags in my calendar that I really should be looking at for the day. I like this one, the triage table. So these are different tasks that really should get done today and who might be the better person to do them.
Yeah, I was going to say everything's TJ's or TJ and me.
And then leadership. So this isn't my favorite setup,
Okay.
but it's a good one. The other prompt, and again, happy to share them. We'll share Christina's email. This is the prompt I put in. Where'd it go? All right. So this one will give me a summary of the week. This one I get every Sunday. This will give a summary of the week of what's happening.
You save some money so you can pay for the AI or good.
It'll pull out themes, because one thing I like to know is at the end of the week, what were the themes that have happened? What were, between email and calendar, where were people upset or what just happened that week? All the key themes. So it'll give you that. It'll call out any risks or issues. It'll find any gaps maybe between where we're at, where we wanted to be, or something might be missing. Things that the leadership team should probably be making a decision on that week. Opportunities, action items. So it'll go through, Christina should be doing this that week. Tori should be doing this. John should be doing that. So we run EOS and we have what's called the VTO, which calls out our plan for the quarter. And I have that uploaded in here. So that'll compare it to that. It'll look for any common patterns that happened over the last week, questions that I should be asking of certain team members. What should I focus on for the week?
So that one was with John. So I heard like there was some noise about something got messed up on a security deposit. And this is saying John's our field manager. What specific 3 changes are we making in our move out standard operating procedure where we never lose another security deposit case in court? Interesting. And that knew this from just your email or also John's email or your calendar or his, like
just mine,
just yours.
Yep.
So you must have been like
Copied
CC'd on some emails and okay.
Exactly. So yeah, I know we flew through that. We will provide you the prompt, but here's the most important thing. For this to work in Gemini, Gemini, even though it's Google, it won't connect to Gmail for security reasons.
Okay.
You have to give it permission. So you would say if you can see down here, Gmail. Now it'll go into your Gmail. Or you do @drive.
Do you have to do that for every prompt, or will it remember that you're giving permission?
Each chat, I'll say. Yeah.
So the question was, when do you have to prompt it? It's for every chat you have to do that.
Right.
You could probably also ask it the question like, how do I get it to do it? Because I've been doing that with it now. Like, how do I get you to work? And sync it.
And sync it.
Right, yeah, okay.
Well, what you could do is, so the question was, do you have to do the @Gmail, @Drive for every chat? The answer's yes for every new chat that you start. If it's an existing chat, you don't need to. But with this, getting the daily summary and whatnot, once you get it to the point that you like the format that it's in, you just say there at the bottom, hey, can you repeat this every day at 8 a.m.? Or can you repeat this every Sunday at 8 a.m.? And then you kind of forget. You don't have to prompt it every day. You don't have to prompt it every week. It'll just give it to you.
How long did it take you to develop this to where you were comfortable with the responses you were getting?
I'd say a week.
But how many months or
till-
years have you been working with AI?
Well, I've been working with
Total.
AI for 2 years.
Okay.
Maybe. But like this specific prompt, I gave it the prompt, got the answer. It's like, all right, well, tomorrow I'm going to change it a little bit. And then you go in and tweak what you have. And
could you set this up to just automatically run and email you the results?
Yeah, it won't email, but it will automatically run every week. Well, whatever you set it to repeat to.
Yep.
You just have to remember to go into Gemini to get it.
There was a firm that we were considering hiring not too long ago, and one of the things that they were going to do for us is go through everybody's email and say, who are your, for in our case, like property managers that do that their performance is better, their customer service results and all the metrics we track. What are they doing differently than maybe somebody else who's newer or wasn't as good of a fit? So you can have it. That was one example of then also like how give us a repository of the best ways to respond on a security deposit dispute, or maybe a landlord that has a question about a maintenance bill or any of that. And now you've built your repository of the best ways to respond and what had the best outcome. So for me, it just like allows you to think differently. Of like, we couldn't do that before. Yes, Rob?
So there's obviously like lots of dug into it, like a lot of different things you can use this for, and so many different things. I mean, I'm like fairly novice AI user. I'll use it for listening descriptions and stuff like that, little things. But the Gemini thing seems really interesting to me. I use Gmail, I get too many emails, I have my calendar sync there. I mean, like really integrated with the G Suite. But like, what's like if you're just getting started with this, what do you guys think's like, all right, like here's a good starting point, here's where you're gonna get your highest return on time, energy invested.
Ask AI.
Yeah, great question.
Artificial intelligence. Human intelligence. HI.
And you haven't seen his brain scan yet.
Yeah, I want to see brain scan.
My thought on that is just pick one area of the business or your life that you want, right? Don't try to do too many different things at once, because then it does become overwhelming and you're trying to fine tune everything. So if the question was, where's the best place to start with AI? I would just say, where are you feeling the most overwhelmed? And then...
Is it up with children?
We're your spouse.
Okay, yeah.
I had my Sarah take a culture index. That was helpful. You could, and then literally you could use it as a how do I work my profile working than other than my wife and all. But yeah.
No, it's truth. It does. I think 13. It'd be 13.
At 13, you can take a culture index. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something inside the AI?
The culture index is separate. Maybe they might have their own version of it on one of these platforms, but
yeah.
So it's
ChatGPT.
So you're saying, Rob, what fills your energy cup? What drains it? And maybe start with.
Yeah, just start there. Like if email is just incredibly overwhelming, I'd use Gemini, and I would do the @Gmail. Tell Gemini what your goals are for that month, that quarter, what you're after, because then it'll know, all right, well, Rob's after this. These are the emails that he's getting. So he really should be looking at these 10. if I get 100 emails a day, like start with these 10.
Can it like unsubscribe you from all the crap that you get?
It's a great question. I don't know.
We've seen some at one firm where I don't know if it's using Zapier or these other tools where it would literally, like, when after they've worked in your business for a while, and let's take that property manager as an example, and like, here's the best way to respond to these different scenarios. When that property manager then signs in the morning, it's already drafted responses for him.
Yes. Yep.
It hasn't sent it, but it's just drafted the responses and it's waiting there per email in the draft.
The AI agent. Maybe
The
that's
AI agent's doing
agent
that.
can help you.
Yeah.
There is in Gmail a feature now, the manage subscriptions. Do you know about that at all? So if you click manage subscriptions, bam, you just go down the list. So I could say unsubscribe, unsubscribe, so everything's in, it identifies what may be not necessary. That's just part of Gmail. But
are we doing anything with the AI agent today?
Yes, we can.
If you have multiple Gmail accounts, so you know how you say at Gmail, are you saying at like your specific Gmail address you want it to look at, or you just say at Gmail and it's the account you're logged into? You know how you can have two different.
Yep, it's working with the account that you're logged into.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
My question was about AI agent. We doing
AI
anything? What is an AI agent?
Too.
Somebody else had a question?
I think he's ignoring me mostly, but that's okay. I think you kind of answered the question, but you can pretty much go into Gemini and say, go through my emails at Gmail and get a list of the most important ones and the ones that you recommend unsubscribing, who are the ones that are just total junk, and it'll give you that a daily list every morning.
Correct.
And make it a little faster when you have 200 emails a day or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So the simplest form, that's a quick way to start your day.
That would be a quick
And I would say you could probably also ask, is there anything I need to follow up on? Is there anything I'm missing? Or because what I love when it says like follow up, like you sent an email a week ago and maybe it was answered in a different chain, but yeah.
And block all of Rob's
Missing
emails.
stuff. Oh my god. Yeah, miss stuff in the email.
Okay.
All right, let's go. So your question about the AI agent.
What's an AI agent?
My interpretation of that, well, here. In ChatGPT, an agent would be these different profiles. So there's a profile for mentors. There's a profile for my therapist. So it's just the different profiles that you set up as part of AI.
Real estate ops, real estate AI suite.
Yep.
Okay.
And so in GPT, there's a section called GPT.
Okay.
And you can click Explore. And this is where you can look for these different profiles that you want. So if you are after analyzing financials, you could type that in. If you wanted to, if I wanted to recruit, did I spell that right? If I wanted to recruit somebody, I could put in recruiter and find a bot that's built for recruiting. And then that way it's a little more honed in and customized for what you're after. You can also build your own, which I think would be a really powerful session separately. Like we built one for Rentwell and it's connected to all of our database of information. So if an employee has a question, they could open up that particular chat bot and say, wait, what's our rules around this? Or how long do I have to, it's really nice.
Yeah, you built something for our sales guy to make his own brochures with our branding and our pricing and our messaging and all that. He had an idea that he wanted to go to all the local municipalities and boroughs and the codes offices and have like a sheet. And he was able to do it. I think it gave him a lot of autonomy and ownership behind that. And then it was like all information that we fed it.
Yes. Yep.
From our own drive.
From our own drive.
Okay.
And it stopped a lot of volume coming in from kind of our hub with some questions because they can get it all. And
what's our policy right now? I mean, I think some firms are like saying they're laying off people because of AI, but they're really not running that great of a company, and they're kind of using it as the reason. I think like either PayPal or one of those was one of those.
Yeah.
Are you asking these questions hiring now?
If they're comfortable with AI
Yep.
and if they're familiar with it, sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not really part of the culture yet, but it will become part of it as it becomes more ingrained in the company. And some of the changes that we're making in AppFolio and deploying more of their AI, like it's going to become much more pervasive. And
I would think for those that self-manage, there could be some incredible tools out there. I mean, there's one newsletter that we follow, and the property manager basically doesn't have
360.
employees anymore.
He manages 360 prop doors, and it's his sister that helps, basically.
Okay.
It's all funneled through different AI platforms and uses VAs.
Yeah. Now we're not sure what his data is on NOI and how quickly work orders are getting done, but in property management, it's typically about one full-time staff member for every 75 doors. That's about where it runs. Maybe 100, depending on what your back office looks like.
So we could go a couple ways
Yep.
here.
Yeah, we're near the end.
We could put in phase one environmental and have it analyze that. We could. Oh yeah, I should share this. We could also just do, if anybody has a real life scenario right now that they want to run through, we could put it in here and see what's produced.
And what's any other options?
No.
Okay.
But we could come up with something. I do want to share this, though, just
go for it.
before. These are some of the things I've learned not to do, or maybe what doesn't work well, which is the prompting without context, which we've already talked about. Trusting the output blindly, which we've covered. You definitely need to proofread and just look over it. This whole trying 20 tools at once, just pick one. So kind of, I think, Rob, to your question, where do you start? Pick one. Maybe just pick GPT or just pick Gemini, and then pick one area within there until you really become comfortable with it. What not to do is letting AI create more noise in your life, that it's just sort of creating more of a distraction than it is actually helping. And don't use AI to avoid hard decisions, or like sometimes just picking up the phone is the easiest thing to do and not trying to overanalyze something. Yes.
Specifically relating to the strategy and the analyst type roles, how do you make sure that AI doesn't become a yes man? As it begins to know you've uploaded your brain, how do you stop the echo chamber?
So that's, great question. So your question is, how do you not have it just become a yes man and answer it the way you want it to answer? That would be part of the programming. So either in the prompt, or if you create your own bot, which we quickly went through, you would say in there, like, don't play devil's advocate on every answer. Don't just say something that's going to placate me, like challenge me. And that's how you would get around that.
Right, because I think that one of the challenges is it is designed to be helpful, and it wants to give you an answer even when it doesn't have the context, the data, the information to give you an answer. Right? It doesn't like to say, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
What have you found that it's not good at doing?
Being consistent, kind of like what we talked about. If you ask the same question today and tomorrow, you get a different answer, slightly different answer. But I think it's also, they each have their own strength. So like ChatGPT's not great at doing design work, presentations, but Claude is, and just knowing which one to use. I would also say sometimes it's not great at just getting to the point, because it'll give you long-winded answers And
Yes, he does that, and I'm like, it's like, what's 2 + 2? It's like, well, you see.
Here's the whole story behind everything.
But you can summarize that, and I've seen that on websites that automatically come up, automatically summarize like pages and pages of crap.
Yeah,
and it's long sometimes too.
But you just gotta, say like, nope, please be shorter.
Maybe I guess speak for any like financial things where it's not as good as, or I guess where are we seeing like that human is still better at it?
Is still better than AI?
Medical advice?
Absolutely.
Good question. I haven't ran into any case yet where it's, I'd rather work with a human.
He didn't mean that, Christina. I mean, help him out here.
He works at numbers all day.
Here's the insurance leaving the building.
I know you had it where it looked through emails. How about through text? Because I'm finding that so much communication via text messaging is.
I haven't tried that yet. I haven't done it through text yet. But what I'm excited about
he
is
doesn't answer his texts is the reason why.
The coach that I hired, he has 7 patents in AI, and the dude's just brilliant. He this month will help us sync GPT with Appfolio, so it will be able to look at texts, look at all of Appfolio. Because I'd be curious to start looking at themes, trying to identify landlords who might be frustrated and we probably should get in front of before they, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I think where it is really powerful in our space of just investing in real estate will be more on the predictive maintenance side of things, the preventative maintenance, picking up on themes, and a lot of the trend now is particularly in third-party property management, landlords want to know what their ROI is on all the daily maintenance because costs are going up, and if I'm going to pay to have this toilet replaced, well, what's the ROI on that? Like, what's going to, you chose to do that. Could you have done a bigger fix to have it last longer? And then to pull in pricing to say, well, we know that the HVAC system is going to have to get replaced soon. What would it look like to replace it in the summer versus the winter based on where it is? It's just, yeah. Cool. There's some cool stuff coming.
Cool. So we're going to land this part of the plane.
Okay.
Thank you, TJ, for being here. We're going to share the presentation and the prompts on the answer line so you have that basically in real time. And then I'd love for Dan to come up because we're going to continue on this conversation. When we get back from our summer break, Dan's going to be up here, and we're going to be, by that time we'll have already worked with Dan for a number of months, and anybody else who's interested in working with somebody, because I think almost every hand goes up of where you want more deal flow or where you want more leads for your business. So, Dan, if you don't mind just putting the cherry on top of this as to we know about the website and like how else can those that don't want to wait until September, get started.
Well, that is a tough act to follow. What's really cool, so ditto to everything TJ just said, because we're doing that on the lead generation side. Very eye-opening on the ops side. All right, and when we talk about deal flow, both sides are equally important. And I do, in working with clients in real estate and other industries, I see where everything on that ops side can be now integrated. And I get to, on the next client performance meeting, I get to take those 6 prompts that TJ gave us and be like, oh yeah, I'll give you credit, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, here's what we cooked up for your team to use internally. Wow, that's eye-opening. That's a game changer because we can give you 30 leads a day, but what are you doing with them? That all it comes down to finding the gaps, finding the optimizations, which is always the next couple layers down. So on the marketing side, that's really what we're doing. You made a comment about don't go after like something Maltese and Monco or something like that as far as competition for investments. And it was kind of funny to me because I say we can actually be more collaborative than competitive because there's two different niches. We'll just use the example of single family home buyers in Montgomery County. We'll take it down to, Horsham. I think that's in Monco. Horsham Township.
Yeah.
I'm an investor in Horsham Township, single family homes. Okay. All right, let's go another niche down. Let's talk about the type of seller. Is it pre-foreclosures? Is it inherited houses? Is it life changes? And we're telling you as marketers, pick a lane. You're not necessarily going to exclude if a seller comes to you for a particular reason, but you're going to want to be the expert at pre-foreclosures, basically is what I'm getting. And we're using AI to hone in the messaging away from we buy houses down to we're your pre-foreclosure specialists. And connecting, the end result is you want to buy a property, right? That's what we want. We'll either buy or make an offer, get the contract. So you know both ends now. And filling everything in between comes down to your offer stack. All right, what is it you can do for that seller? The tech that gets it from A to B, that's a very important part of marketing. And it can blow up at every step of the way. So cohesiveness.
And is that where your fractional CMO comes in for you to help an organization?
Absolutely. So where I come in first is I just analyze everything you've got going on, from the offer, from your positioning to the execution and the pipeline. And we analyze it with specific frameworks at each of those layers, because sometimes you actually might have all of these things addressed. You might have the perfect positioning. You might be getting the message out to the right audience, but there could be a disconnect from the lead to the phone call or the text reply, right? Okay. That's a gap, and we find them every single day. Or it could be you're not doing any particular marketing channel at volume. We hear this all the time too. I've tried social, I've tried Google ads, I've tried networking, I've tried mailers for like a month at a time. Maybe $1,000 to $2,000 investment in ad spend, and then quitting and going on to something else. It's the 3 feet from gold concept.
Got it.
And if you had just done direct mail for 6 months at $2,000 a month, you got deals coming.
Got it.
But direct mail takes longer.
Cool.
So we build omnipresent systems. Example, pull a list, send mail, cool. What do you do in the meantime? Well, we're going to drop that list into Google, into Meta Ads Network, and serve up ads to those people immediately. Kind of the same concept of when you visit, you're trying to buy shoes or a hat or something, and now suddenly your feed is full of those ads because of retargeting.
Okay.
We're masters at that. So we create omnipresence based on your brand.
Got it.
And AI is augmenting every step of the way. We don't use it for final product. We use it on both ends. We use it for the ideation. All right. We don't need a room full of 10 junior marketers to come up with the next campaign. We need me and Amanda, and we do have some both local people that work with us and offshore workers. And part of our culture now is that they have to be into AI, right? That's a non-negotiable part of our culture now in our business. So we're killing ramp-up times on campaigns. Ideation take a week. No, takes like 20 minutes now for a minimum viable campaign.
Wow.
All right, deploying it. Well, we want to test two variables against each other. This image versus this video. What's going to perform better? A/B testing. All right, we'd have to typically we'd have to come up with both of them first, end to end. A matter of a couple days, maybe weeks, depending on the complexity. A couple hours. A/B testing. We're getting signal feedback within days that I can look personally at a Google Ads account and tell you what's going on a month. But if I drop it into, we use ChatGPT a lot, and I say, okay, here's what I know about this campaign performance. What am I missing here? Something happened on this day where performance dropped. Oh, well, it turns out that was the Eagles Super Bowl parade, so nobody in this area was trying to sell or buy a house. Everything was shut down. Cool. That explains the dip. without the hours of analysis.
Much faster.
Everything is just speed at this point. Speed and iteration and reiteration, testing and reiteration at levels that would either have taken multiple tens, $20,000, $30,000 for a single campaign. Like, put that money towards the ads, not the development and the admin. And that's where we're seeing the biggest successes right now, is doing everything faster.
Love it. TJ, thank you again. Dan, thank you. Please stick around a little bit. So Dan will be here in September. Thank you, brother. Great job.
Thank you for listening to Living Well with Rentwell. We hope you loved that episode.
Please be sure to head over to our website at rentwell.com.
We wish you a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in, and check in later.